What screams I peaked in high school? Still bullying the nerds at your 10-year reunion. A guy who graduated from my high school back in 2003 was arrested a few years ago for his second DUI. He was wearing his Letterman jacket in his mugshot. Want to earn money from home and set your own hours? Thank you all for the hella love. And sorry you all have had that acidity. Read. Distant acquaintance. Reach out to you with a desperate sales pitch. Still bragging about high school basketball games from 10 years ago. Partying with high schoolers when you're 30. Sharing every memory from Facebook talking about the good old days and wish we could go back when it's only been a few years since graduation. Selling pot to teenagers and then trying to get them to stay and smoke with you. I went to school with a girl whose parents graduated from our high school 20 years prior. All 4 members of their family got the school's logo tattooed. Her boyfriend still goes to the football games and reposts his game highlights on Instagram. We're all 21-22. I'm from New Mexico and live in the largest city in the state. We've never had a good HS football team and the BF usually goes to pick up underage girls and brags to everyone about how he was the star football player. If someone from another team makes a really good play, he'll make some kind of remark about how he could have done it better, or he'll go into a detail about his JV football experience. Making any mention of SAT or ACT scores. Bonus points for that IQ test you took when you were a kid online. I dated a guy with his high school mascot tattooed on his arm. It was such a turn off. At my 10-year reunion, the prom queen came wearing a tiara with a custom queen 03 inches sash over her shoulder. I had to go outside, I was laughing so hard. But I'll be damned if she didn't rock that outfit the whole time. So, respect. Still sad though. Selling your pyramid scheme essential oils on Facebook. 1. Still wearing your Letterman jacket and class ring in your 30s. 2. Talking about high school sports games from a different decade as if they meant something. 3. Still living in your hometown and looking forward to that night at the bar just before Thanksgiving when everyone who left comes home out so you can talk about high school stuff to people who have grown up and have real lives now. Anyone that still wears their Letterman's jacket after high school. People who say high school is the best time of your life. Teachers who suck up to the athletes and other popular kids and ignore the less popular kids. My freshman year Spanish teacher was like that. 1 strap. Everybody knows 2 strap is the thing now. As someone who recently graduated, the students who returned to the school every time they came home from school just so people would pay attention to them. Also not sure how to explain it, but the people who now posts blank screens and just text on their Snapchat stories that just say things like always crazy to see who you can really trust when this happens, or surprising to see who really cares about you when you need friends the most. Like I said, I don't know how to explain it, but there's definitely a correlation. We used to play indoor floor hockey in a loft room in the big gym of my middle school. One game I scored 3 goals, one of them being a bank shot off the wall. The next year I wrote about the game for an assignment in English class and the teacher read it to the class the next day. I'm not sure which one was my peak. I was in the NHS, so I know a little bit about leadership anytime after high school. Billy Joel feels compelled to write a ballad about how you and your ex were the king and the queen of the prom. How the 2 of you married right after high school. And how it all went to hell from there. Bonus points if your names happen to be Brenda and Eddie. Dropping out of college to promote your pyramid scheme. Always showing up to the football field wearing your Letterman jacket, years after you barely passed summer school in order to graduate. Constantly sharing stuff about how great they were at high school football. Filming yourself running drills and throwing footballs off camera in front of your van mobile home. Hanging out with kids in high school after high school. The class that graduated before me had their 10-year reunion last year and apparently a big fight broke out over something that happened when they were all still in high school. I guess that is one way to tell if someone peaked in high school. Pretty embarrassing. When I was in high school, this guy a year before me had a fearsome reputation. At house parties, people would fear him just by name alone. He would show up to parties with his cronies and start fights. He came from a decent enough family. Everybody wanted to be on his good side. Anyway, He graduates high school, and most of us were still in 12th grade. I remember he used to come around lunchtime to smoke with the people out front, shoot the breeze and talk about how much fun it is to just sleep in and do nothing and have all this freedom. A couple of months of "oh cool." 2. Why are you still here? As we awkwardly shuffled back to class. Wearing your class ring. Like, why were they a thing at all? They were so chunky and ugly and cost like $70 on the low end. Wearing your high school ring after graduation. Still drinking in the same pub you drank in as a student, because that's now full of students. So you're that guy or girl who never left home and drinks with school kids much younger than you. Getting the score of the football game you won against the school's rival tattooed on your shoulder. Huge social media presence, full of interactions with people from high school that you are also friends with, but never spend any time with in person. A Slipknot tattoo, an older model Honda Civic, and an assistant manager job at Pizza Hut. One of the few good things, maybe the only good thing, about the UK's usually duct education system is that hardly anyone, except those who have had an expensive private education, gives a duck about their old school. No loyalty to the old school. Sports loyalty when at school was practically non-existent. No one, apart from those on the teams, usually gave a shit about how the sports teams did. No yearbooks. No jackets. No proms, at least when I went to school. That aberration seems to be creeping in now. No one gives a duck. School reunions are rare if a thing at all here. I still know and see a few of my classmates or ones who were at school when I was there, but only because they still live locally and it's not that big a place. The others I have no idea where they are, how they are, even if they're still alive, and with maybe 2 or 3 exceptions, have no great wish to find out. When I was in high school, the cool kids partied hard. They'd get blackout drunk and use whatever illegal substances they can get. I was looking through the profiles of some of those classmates and a few of them are still doing the same talking gangster despite growing up in a middle class suburb. Talking about how they miss their kids who are in CPS custody because they went to jail for using. Going on rants about narcs, etc. They're about 27 or 28. What made you cool in high school makes you a loser as a grown-ass adult, especially when you're a parent. Being a high school arsehole then trying to reconnect with the people you look down on because daddy's money can't buy you friends. Talking about high school football drama. Had this one time at band camp, anytime after age 20. Forcing your kids to be good at sports. My friends used to get together to play Halo, the old 4-person split screen multiplayer, and they'd destroy me every time. Now, we've all moved away and we play shooters together online occasionally. I win almost every time now that they can't see my screen. Those ducker screen peaks in high school. Never advancing your life past the moment when you graduate. I have a cousin who still lives with his parents, has had the same job he had since junior year, and has done duck all with his life. Alternatively, I have a cousin the same age still living with his mom, but he's going to college and taking care of his grandmother. I think he wants to make it as a concept artist, but he's working on a fallback degree before he makes the big leap. Huge difference. Some of the popular girls from high school still get together very frequently, and you see updates of it on Facebook. I also keep in touch with some friends from high school, and I think that that's nice. However, one of those friends of mine once ran into them during one of their get-together. He said hi and happened to be sitting not too far from them at the bar. He said that all they did for the whole night was talk about high school. They looked up old classmates on Facebook, laughed at them, called them names, looked at their spouses and called them names too. They still thought themselves the popular kids, as if they still had some sort of influence on all these people. Everyone has moved on, done interesting things in their life except for them. They're just rehashing old drama and old rumors. One of those girls had a small bit of success as a photographer in high school. She won a couple contests that were aimed at teenagers and her photos aren't bad. Her parents turned this into a very big deal. Her friends all wanted to be in her photos, and she was dead set on going to art school and getting the recognition she deserved. I don't know if she never made it into art school or if she dropped out, but she definitely did not become a photographer. Instead, You see her launching some new startup business selling asinine live laugh love it about once a year. Still going to high school parties when you've been out of school for a few years. Been at an interview and asked what your biggest achievement was and responding with, well, when I was high school. I have a friend. We'll call him Dave. That isn't his name because his family is Iranian, but we'll call him Dave. I also went to school with another person who I'll call D-Head, because he is a D-Head. He refused to be called by his actual name anyway, and insisted on being called by his nickname, which for the purposes of this tale we shall call Massive Wanker. Dave applied for a job and got it. It was a pretty serious gig, a finance job that paid extremely well. He got it and arrived for his first day. The guy who hired him showed him around the building, then showed him to his desk and introduced him to his immediate manager. It was D-Head. This was literally about 15 years after we'd left school, and everyone who wasn't a fellow D-Head thought D-Head was far in the past. Nope. Dave said, "Oh, hi D-Head." Dickhead replied, "It's actually Massive Wanker, if you don't mind." Dave said, "What? Still?" He then went down to the lobby and paced around for 10 minutes and then just walked out. Nobody wants D-Head to be their boss. Dave now works elsewhere and seems happy. D-Head, however, no idea. Don't care. Why? Because he is a proper ducking D-Head. I'm 34 and have never peaked. I think that screams louder. A football coach at my high school held a record as a linebacker for when he was in high school in the 80s. One kid a few years ago on the first string varsity team came 30 yards away from breaking that record, and the coach promptly took him out of the game and kept him out for the rest of the season. Only one game left at that point, so no one could break his record from 30 years ago. Not letting go of old memories where you were QB on the football team, doing senior pranks, hitting on the freshmen, and on and just never shutting up about it. Uncle Rico. He could have gone pro if coach had put him in the fourth quarter. Constantly going back and visiting your high school. Working at an ice cream shop in the mall. Going to high school parties when you are out of high school over a year. A year is okay as you may still have friends there, but after that it's just sad. Working for a multi-level marketing company. Constantly posting about whatever activities they did in high school decades after it ended. Really aggressive sport parents. I stayed in the same hotel as a little league team and there wasn't a single parent that I didn't despise. Your only friends are from high school. You tell your college grad older brother yes you got a math heavy degree, but in high school I took algebra 2 and you took geometry like everyone else looking for the easy path. Says to older brother everyone looked down on you in high school. Gets pissed when older brother says you are 38. You graduated 20 years ago. Please tell me you have something to be proud of from the past 2 decades. I worked at a fast food restaurant. I saw people daily and normally forgot their conversations. But there are always those few who stick. Here's one. The dude walks up to the worker on the left of me with 3 other guys and is talking to his friends about how he hasn't paid rent yet and he's having it held over his head, but he knows he's going to get manager at the movie theater he works at, but his bosses just don't like him. This guy looks like he's in his early 30s, possibly late 20s. Definitely at least 28. The worst part of this story is when his other friend butts in and says, "Is it really paying rent when you're just paying your mom to stay at her house?" I am no expert, but I can tell he didn't know whether to be sad or angry about what his friend said. He was also probably trying to hide the fact that he still lived with his mom from his other friends. I just realized that as I type this. Edit. Him living with his mother is a detail of the story, not why it's mainly a peaking story. I don't think that living with your parents at his age is bad. My sisters have done it to get through jobs. I get that. I thought it's still a good story and maybe later on a turnaround story. Wanna see my prom pictures? I used to be so fit back in HS. You should have seen me play ball back in the day. I probably could have gone to play college. Wanna see my highlight reel? I had a guy every other week when I was a teenager. Look how skinny I was back then. I was cheer captain at my HS. I made sure itches feared me when I walked the halls. It's like, okay, we get it. You were popular and feared. We're nearly 30 now. Get over yourself. Me after 3 beers. but it's more of a heaving sob. Reaching out to people you have not seen or spoken to since high school to get them to buy essential oils, protein shakes, leggings, makeup, scented candles, whatever else, or to be part of your downline. I did some work at a guy's house when I was about 20 when I was on summer break from college. I was doing some landscaping and such. This guy was a cop, about 35, and was married with a pretty nice house. I would work there and he would pop over to the house once or twice a day for lunch or whatever and would check on how the work was going. But one day he tells me to come to the garage with him. He is searching around the garage for something but won't tell me what. Finally he finds a box with his old homecoming crown from high school when he was named Homecoming King. He started talking about how high school was such great memories and all that. He was trying to show off and thought I'd be really impressed. But I was really embarrassed for him, to be honest. Screaming I haven't even begun to peak. My mom, a 42-year-old, has a giant stack of numbers that boys gave her in high school. She brings them out to brag every now and then. It's embarrassing. Anybody have that video of that D-bag bro trying to recruit other D-bag bros to his pyramid scheme? He has testimonials of other D-bag bros talking about how they drive Lamborghinis and crap. They're all late 20s or so and all wearing like clearance bin TJ Maxx suits. Sound familiar? Everyone in the video screams. I peaked in high school. A high school teacher who berates a student, me, for deciding not to go to prom. You're going to regret it for the rest of your life. I see why you became a high school psychology teacher. Selling leggings or weird jewelry on social media while being a stay-at-home mom. Having your parents spend over $1K on a custom designed prom dress, but not even having a date. Also having your rich parents throw you a music festival for your birthday that is named after you. Person's name Chella. I'm very interested to see what the next decade outside of high school is like for this individual. I work in HR and once had a resume that mentioned the applicant had been the captain of the local high school football team. He was in his 50s at the time he submitted this application. Not high school but frat alumni who talk about the old days hazing and partying with all the hot girls. No one cares about your glory days, David. Glory Days by Bruce Springsteen, of course. I'm late to the party but a former co-worker of mine, who just turned 45 years old, posts pictures and messages about him and his brother breaking track records in high school. Sometimes it's a picture of almost 30-year-old newspaper clippings. Other time it's trophies. Or maybe it's a nostalgic message of wanting to go back in time to high school and being the greatest again. He also likes to mention one of his records is still unbroken. I wished he had cared about his job performance as much as his track and field record. My time working with him would have been much less stressful. I got a good one through Reddit itself. Context. Dude comments on a post about the Fortnite player who won the championship these past weeks. He makes threats. Then below that is his Twitter bio. Left square bracket. H. Twitter bio says 1998 state championship game MVP. 16 rushes, 84 yards. 2 TDs. He literally gave us his peak date. When the cool kids from high school keep trying to organize reunions and don't understand why everyone doesn't give a shit. My ex and his friends weren't actually that popular in high school, but it still seems to be their peak. I met them in their mid-20s and all they ever spoke about were things that happened in high school. All of them went to university and had jobs, but they would still hang out in their parents' garage, getting drunk and talking about school. Now they are in their 30s, mostly married, but when they see another guy from their group the stories revert back to high school. They also never spend more than a few days apart. I thought it was sweet at first until I realized they could never be apart or do anything separately. Music festival full of music one of the guys hated, had to invite him. Romantic holiday, had to invite the guys. Had to go home for a funeral. Sorry babe, can't make it. Promised the guys we would have a BBQ. Still wearing their year 12 jackets in public years after they graduated. Dating seniors in high school when you are 25. Short soccer mom haircut in their 20s. Let's be real. You got cocky. Accidentally got a kid who you regret and tell everyone they are the greatest thing ever. while every weekend they get drunk and act like they really wish they had in their late teens and early 20s. It seemed to last from their mid 20s to late 50s. The only thing that changes is their wrinkles. Constantly reminding people you once scored 4 touchdowns in one football game. Scoring 4 touchdowns in a single game while playing for the Polk High School Panthers in the 1966 City Championship game versus Andrew Johnson High School. Mom of 4. With the at husband. I a blessed praying a wine addict and shopaholic I a lularo boss babe Loud mufflers and revving your engines on residential streets.